My name is Natasha Afifa and I would like to continue the presentation about syntax. Syntax is one very useful technique for exploring to what extent the grammar of two languages overlap with syntactic priming. Under certain circumstances, monolingual speakers are more likely to produce a sentence with the same syntactic structure that they have recently heard. This issue of syntactic structure priming will be considered further in Chapter 6. And for our present purposes, the question is, can the structure of sentence in one language influence the production of structure in another language? The answer appears to be yes, although with some caveats. Several studies have now found priming between languages with a number of different structures. Bernoulli, Hartswitker and Pickering 2007, Hartswitker, Pickering and Feldkamp 2004, Lobel and Borg 2003, Schonberg and Hartswitker and Pickering 2007. Bock and Lobel 1990, Pickering, Brannigan, and Michelin 2002 pointed out surface of similarity between the prime sentence and the target sentence appear to be important for bilingual priming. But this is not unique to bilingual representation, and it appears in general structural priming is sensitive to the degree of similarity of or overlap of structural form. Lobel and Bock 2003 examined syntactic priming in general English bilingual speakers. The content of the picture did not share anything in common with the repeated prime sentence. It could best describe using the dative constructor in either language. Dative constructor in English and German can come in one of two forms, which we can label the double object and the prepositional object. The double object version of the dative structure looks like this. As you can see from the slide, the example, the boy gave the man a book, whereas the prepositional object, the boy gave a book to the man. And Lobel and Bock found that the production of German dative by their participant primes the production of English dative and vice versa. There's one thing that you can notice and that we can figure out in this area is we are not yet certain to extent proficiency fluent the degree of priming. Also, the language tastes to the death are all reasonably dissimilar language in which might have occasional overlap to test would show such priming. And we come to the next part, it's the broader impact of having more than one language. In the previous section, that language may interact in an interesting way, but we haven't really seen that the larger impact of speaking more than one language might be. For example, does speaking more than one language influence how quickly you can access words in your material dictionary? What about non-language tasks? Does speaking two languages allow you to switch between tasks more easily than someone who speaks in only one language? Another hot topic in language processing is looking at the impact of bilingualism more generally. Studies from Robert Gracia Deschores and Hernandez 2002 showed that bilingual speakers take a little longer on average when they ask to name picture of object. To see why this could cause problems, think about the differences in language between bilingual speakers and monolingual speakers. If monolingual speaker of English want to refer to a dog, then they pretty much have to the one word that they will use, dog. However, a bilingual speaker of English and Spanish may use either dog or perro depending on the context, meaning that on average the frequency of the use for dog will be higher for monolingual than the frequency of the use for bilingual. The fact that the dog has different frequencies for these different speakers may have an impact on strength of the representation of the word in the lexicon between the speakers. Bilingual may have somewhat speaker representation because they simply use a word even in a given language less frequently than the speakers who only have one language to use. There's advantage to be and there's the advantages of having more than language. The advantages is the obvious one to being able to communicate with a bigger set of people. And we come to the last part is wrapping up. In this chapter, I took the picture of brain, and this chapter we have covered several key topics related to how language are represented. Psychologically and neurologically, focusing primarily on bilingual representation, and the result from many areas of research show that multiple language may be represented in the same areas of the brain, but that the degree of overlap may be due in part of one skill in the language. Bilingual representation of language interact during bilingual process and appear to have impact even beyond one language. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.